Hey, what's up YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Luke. I am here taking you guys out on a ride today on my brand new S-Works Stumpjumper 15 Evo. Yes, that's another mouthful, and that's what she said. I just wanted to take you guys on a ride, give you guys my somewhat first thought and impressions. There is one thing about this bike that I'm not too happy about, but it's an easy change. Again, if you watched last week's video, I'm pretty pumped. I moved all my Switchblade stuff onto this frame, so it was nice, cost efficient. It's been feeling pretty good. Took it on a few rides, but again, I want to take you guys out, give you some first ride impressions and the one thing I don't like so far. So before we ride, let's take a first look again at the build. We have the new S-Works Stumpjumper 15 Evo frame. They've equipped it with the Fox Float X Genie. So this is 145 travel. I put a custom Zeb on there, it's 160. This is more of an Enduro build. My thing with this bike is I'm gonna be doing a lot of content with it where it's like a trail build, an Enduro build. So I'll try it with a Lyric fork. I have the Zeb fork on here. I'm gonna be switching out the rear shock. So there's gonna be a lot of videos on different builds and what build could be suited for you. But again, we have XX transmission across the board, 165 cranks. I did have to put a 150 dropper on it. I was gonna do a 175. I am 5'10", this is an S4. It fits me perfect. I just needed a little bit smaller of a dropper post. We have Industry 9, their carbon Enduro wheel set with the old Hydra hubs. It's not the Hydra 2, it's the Hydra 1. Maxxis tires front and rear. This is a DHR. This is a DHF. We have Maven brakes front and rear. 200 rotors front and rear, the 2mm thickness ones. We have 760 length one-up carbon bars with the 35mm rise bar and a 50mm stem, and we have the Power Pro mirror saddle. All in all, it's a baller build, but again, I'm gonna be doing a few rides and different videos with different setups, trail setup, Enduro setup. This is a little bit more of an Enduro setup. Then another video, I'll do more of a trail setup just to see and what you guys think and what builds could be good for you. You can build this either way, which is great. And you can do a 150, 160, and I'm pretty sure you can do a 174. Charles Murray is using a 170 Zeb. So again, this is the Stumpjumper 15, the Evo build, so 160 in the front, but you can do a regular build with 150. So again, let's get riding, guys. Okay guys, so we're gonna do a downhill run and we will do a climb, and I'll talk about how the bike climbs and descends obviously. And the bike so far, it's been feeling good. I will tell you what I don't like later, and I think it doesn't mean a lot of other people won't like it, but for me and what I want out of a bike, I am just not jiving with this one thing. But again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, guys, like and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers, so it does help me put the best content out for you. Now let's get going. We're headed to this downhill part. Right now I have all the suspension at a base setting. Everything's in the middle. Full 29er build, front and rear. And the bike feels amazing on the downs. The S4 is great. I rode an S3 before. It was the wrong size, 5'10". When I stood up, I ride aggressive on the downs. My arms were killing me. So again, like you're seeing now, about to plow this down, but when I was on the S3, it would really hurt. Woo, nice. It rained yesterday, so it's a bit slick, but this bike has traction, not just the tires, but the whole bike just feels very stable at high speeds. So I really think this bike can be built both ways, trail and Enduro. So it's pretty cool to see that. It gives you a lot of options. So this bike has a longer wheelbase than the S4, than the S3 by a lot. The reach on this S4 is 470, which I love. I'll ride anything from 465 to 480, but the reach on the S3 was not cutting it. It was like 445 or something, or 450. It would hurt my hands when I was riding aggressive or standing up. Now the S3 is supposed to be more nimble and the S4 is supposed to be more stable. So me, I'm pro stable. But on that downhill, felt very good, very planted. You know, I was throwing a little bit of cutties in there. It's hard to see with the first person view, but it felt great. I had a nice jump, and it will, you know, I'm not bottoming the bike out, which is great. 145 in the rear, 160 in the front. Feels like a great amount of travel. I do think, though, if you're looking for more of an overall trail build, you're gonna love the Lyric. You're not gonna stick a Zeb on this. Again, I'm just trying the Zeb out. This configuration for a little bit more of an enduro setup, but also testing it on the trail, obviously, but it's not heavy either. This bike is 32 pounds with pedals, 33. And you know, that's pretty light, and they can get lighter. I've seen them where you can get it to 29, 30, really depends on the build that you're going for. All right, so we're hitting a climb now. I'm not gonna do the climb firm mode switch on the Genie. I'm leaving everything the way it is, in the middle settings for everything. And it does feel like a great climber. I will say that this bike is mulletable, but I prefer full 29ers. I think the mullet's great on the e-bike, but I think you lose a lot of speed. So if you're using this bike as a do-it-all trail bike and you mullet it, you're not gonna have as much fun when you have to go uphill. It'll probably feel good on the downs, but again, 29ers, I think this bike really shines as a 29er. I've kept you guys waiting, but the thing that I don't like about this bike is the Genie shock. I'm not a fan of this Genie shock. I've used it before in past stump jumpers that I had, well, the S3 I had last year. It's kind of the same problem, but, so it's not really a bike problem, just what they're speccing, but this shock wants to stay planted. And I love a lively rear end. You know, J-hopping, a little bit more maneuverability. I think that this shock is just so planted and stable on the ground. So it's great for those chunky sections, but if you want to just like have a little bit more fun on the trail, get a little bit more poppy, it's tough. Like, I have back problems. I have a herniated disc, so you know, just being able to have the rebound a bit poppier is so nice and convenient for me. But I also love to flick things around and, you know, pop up here and there. But I've noticed, even with it all the way, that like on the faster side, it still just wants to stick to the ground a lot. So I will be switching this out for a different rear shock after a few more rides. I'll probably get a Rockshox, but I need to have a poppier rear shock. That's just me. I think the Genie is great for just being more planted. So if you're riding, you're more planted, bombing through those rock gardens, you're not like J-hopping as much, or maybe don't care to have as much of a playful bike, then this rear shock would be amazing. But for me, you know, and it's such a big shock. It's huge. That air can is massive. But for me, it's just not cutting it. So I also like to have a little bit more settings, like high speed, low speed compression. So this kind of doesn't have any of that, but you know, it's probably a good shock for a lot of people, but it is pretty much the one thing that I don't like about the bike. It's not even the bike, just the rear shock. So my thoughts on this bike climbing in this enduro, like I would say enduro configuration. You can probably hear me, I'm like huffing and puffing a little bit, but it is climbing, I think, amazingly for what it is. And what I mean by that is, for a 160 travel bike in the front and this type of setup, I wouldn't expect something like this to climb as well as it is. So again, this is gonna get you to the top. It'll be efficient for what it is. but you know, it's not gonna climb like an Epic 8 or an Epic 8 Evo. But again, you shouldn't compare it to that. Two different bikes. The Epic 8 climbs amazingly for what it is as a low travel bike. And this climbs amazingly, like, you know, for the class of bike it is right now, like this Enduro setup. So even in a more trailier setup, this thing would be a beast climbing. Another thing I would say is, I do like on something like this, because trying to push the limits a little more, I do like having a 160 fork. I think that's why Specialized was ditching the 150 forks and doing 160s, because people are like shredding these bikes. They're like bringing them to the bike park. They're racing Enduro, so a lot of people buying the stock Stumpjumpers, you have to spend a little bit more to change the air shaft or the fork completely. So it's nice to see them listening to the crowd and giving you that extra 10 millimeters. And you know, for what it's worth, it is a beefier rear shock. So it is, you know, an aggressive rear shock, the Genie Float X, but just not for me. I want a more poppy shock, a little less planted, but it's probably fine for a lot of people. So we're about to do another quick little downhill section. This is pretty fast, has some roots. It's not super long, but again, this bike has been feeling really great, stable at high speeds. Haven't felt any cons, no hiccups of it not being easy to control. At 510, the S4, it's really not too big for me. I have this thing set up perfect. It's pretty much almost the same geometry of a lot of the other medium Enduro bikes. I think Specialized sizing is weird. Like an S3 is almost like a small medium, and an S4 is almost like a medium large. So it's really just, can't stress it enough. Said in my other videos, if you're going to get some of the Specialized bikes, or any bikes nowadays, go based off of geometry. If you're a veteran and you have a lot of bikes, look at the geometry that feels great for you and get a bike based off of that. Just don't say, hey, I'm in this size chart, I'm a medium. No, like look at the geometry, look at the reach you're comfortable with, C-tube insertion, like just C-tube angle, wheelbase, everything. And you'll know if you're new into getting a bike, might be a little bit tougher, you might be biting the bullet on your first bike, but you will learn and adapt and you'll see what works for you. So let's get going on this downhill. Again, this is fast, has some berms, it's rooty. This bike has been feeling really nice and like I said, stable. You know, it's planted where I want it planted, but again, it's a little bit more planted right now because of the Genie shock. So it's not feeling as poppy as I would like. Really more so when I'm doing J-hops, like right here. You know, I'm really having to lift a lot more. So I want the rear end, you know, to be able to pop up a little bit more. And again, I have it with the rebound set really high and it's still not cutting it. So again, that's just a shock thing, not a bike thing. But the bike, oh yeah, has been feeling great. Here's some rocky section, a little rooty. It's just carrying its speed so well. I'm so impressed by this bike. Woo! Oh, nice guys. But yeah, been feeling great. So, you know, we're gonna go back to the top. Another quick discussion. Not gonna keep you guys too long today. Just want to give you some first thoughts and impressions to help you guys out on your journey for if you're interested in this bike, or if you're just here for the content. I appreciate it. You know, I really enjoy making a lot of this stuff for you guys. It's cool, it's addicting, and I just love the sport that much that I'm like, hey, why not share it with whoever wants to watch and listen? So, like I said up top, I did have to, not by a lot, but like the 175 dropper was a bit too long all the way down. I needed it down a smidge. Like I'm talking like a couple millimeters. So the 150 worked great and it's not even slammed all the way down with the collar. So I have a lot more adjustability. So I think if you're my height, 5'10", you're building up this bike, get a 150 dropper. It'll be a safer bet. You'll have better options to tune it to your size. Unless you have crazy long legs. But for me, I have average legs but my arms are pretty long. So, you know, I like the longer reaches. And again, I just like having a crazy stable bike. So I like long reaches and longer wheelbases. Another thing is, even in this configuration, the more enduro setup, this bike is easy to control. It is not a hard bike to control. So I do like that. Some other bikes, it's like harder to get behind, you know, on the rear end or compress in the front. This bike is kind of tried and true. So I think a lot of people, you know, you can't go wrong, especially if this is your first bike, yeah, or not first bike. You know, I think it'll make a lot of, you know, it'll make the masses happy. But again, if you're looking for a super light bike and you don't care too much about the downs as much, but more uphill focused and longer distance, the Epic's the way to go. I mean, that bike's game changing, but this bike is great. It wants to get rowdy. So again, I think just because people just like a little bit more travel, and if they're doing more aggressive stuff, don't want to be underbiked, they'll probably be reaching for this bike. Yeah, I mean, there's so many options nowadays. You know, low travel, mid travel, high travel, like trail bikes. You got enduro bikes, cross country bikes, down country bikes. It's really hard to pick. So, you know, there's so much content out there, whether it's me or just any other YouTuber, Instagram. Do the research, look up the bikes, and you'll be fine. I would also say, if you're riding with a group of friends, you know, don't just listen to the friend group and get palpatined into getting what they have. Do what's right for you and be realistic about your riding style and what you want in a bike. Not your best friend who's giving you like 8% IPAs. Do what's right for you. Okay guys, heading back to the top, last little climb. These rides that I've been doing on the video, like for these videos, they've been about 6 miles. I'm just giving a little taste of the bike. Nothing where you need to rot through like 40 minutes of content, but something where it's like 20 minutes, I feel like, you know, you can skim around and get a good idea. So again, Stumpjumper 15 Evo. Would I say this is a great overall bike? Yes, I would say if you were also just looking for that one bike, this is probably it. I think it works well in a lot of categories. I think, don't bite my head off, but I love the Epics. They've been my favorite bike so far, but I have access to a lot of bikes. So I think the Epic or the Epic 8 Evo is a great second bike. I think the new norm nowadays, it's a little sad, but because there's so many riding styles and you want to go out and do, you know, this ride one day or that ride the other day, you know, you might want to reach for a bike like this one day, or you might want to reach for your cross-country downhill bike. Well, sorry, cross-country down-country bike. So I love the Epic 8 Evo and Epic 8 as another bike in my quiver. But if I was to have just one, it'd probably be this bike. I would definitely change the rear shock. It's a bit of a bummer if you get this bike, you don't like the shock, just, you know, bite the bullet, change it out. It's not the bike, it's the shock. But again, I think this is a great do-it-all bike. You can build it up in so many ways. Trail, enduro, it's crazy light for what it is. Like this and an enduro configuration, pretty much. 32 pounds, that's crazy. So it's light and it can get lighter. And it's a great climber for what it is. And it's a great descender, more of a great descender. So I think if you're looking to get rowdy on your local trails, or even bring it to the bike park, this is the bike. Or if you have this bike already and you're looking for a great bike to pair it with, the Epics are great. That's a great bike to pair with a long travel trail bike. You have your cross country, down country bike, and then you have your long travel trail bike. I think if you have those two things, you're in the clear. You don't need anything else. So, but again, don't feel like you have to get both. You know, some people they can't, and that's okay. So that's where I think this bike might shine, where if you're looking for a little safer bet, you don't know if you want a little bit more travel one day versus the other day, the Stumpjumper will be great for you. Okay guys, we're back at the top, just about finished. All in all, I've been loving the bike so far. Great first impression. I'll definitely be giving it a long-term review. Aside from that, I'm going to be doing a lot of content with this bike in different configurations, trail and enduro, different rear shocks, different forks, different brakes, etc. Just for you guys, so you'll know what works for you. Again, not happy with only this, only the Float X Genie. I think if you were at the park all the time, it's great because it's just so planted, but you know, on the trail, you want to be a little bit more poppy and livelier, you know, just, I mean, it might be fine for you, but I'm gonna have to switch it out. I know what shock works best for me, so it's a little bit easier for me. I'm just gonna toss on, I won't say exactly what it is, but you will see it in the next video. And then we can give it another rear shock update review, I guess. But thanks for coming along with me. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's do a last little look at the bike. It's pretty cool. It is ride wrapped. Yeah, that thing is, that's a nice bike. Recommend it to you guys. Go out and check it out. If you have an option to ride it, test it at a local shop, go do it. If not, watch some more videos on it. Doesn't have to be me, obviously, but go online, check it out. You know, you might want to compare it to that and the Epic 8, but I'm going to be doing a lot of head-to-head battles with that in some future videos as well. So stay tuned again and crank on, guys.